narcissistic parent. And then, in other words, the kids often feel the need to rescue that parent. What about the communal narcissist? Well, communal narcissists are the folks, you now know, they're the ones who derive their validation from doing charitable deeds or good deeds. These are people who often want to be viewed as humanitarians or as saviors, and will often want to be on center stage or get validation via social media for all the good things they do for other people. Look at me, I'm a rescuer. And they're often looking real good while they rescue. However, all that charitable do-gooderness seems to fade behind closed doors when they're with their family. And while they may be enraptured with helping children on the other side of the globe, or children that are not related to them through their charitable endeavors, they may actually be quite disengaged from their own children. They may want to put their parentness on display for a photo op, which makes them look like, look at me, I rescue people and I am a parent, but they really don't want to do the work of parenting. And well, they will, though, want to get the validation of being this really publicly involved parent. Your child may wonder why their parent is bringing their A game to other people and to other children, and the entire family system may actually start to burn out on hearing how lucky you are to have such a community-oriented person as part of their family. If you are raised by a communal narcissist, if you are co-parenting with a communal narcissist, it will sometimes mean working around their so-called schedule of being a great person, and they may want the children on demand to help them on camera and in pictures and in front of other people. But maybe the communal narcissistic co-parent may be less engaged at times when the children aren't actually as useful to their portrayal of themselves as a savior, and in fact may be always asking for workarounds regarding custody and all of that, so they can focus on their important work for other people, with the entitled expectation of the communal narcissist being that everyone should support their important world-changing work, including you, their ex-partner, and make your schedule, and by making that, make your schedule work around theirs. Now, the neglectful narcissists are those who literally almost don't engage with people in their world unless they need something from them, and in that way can feel very manipulative. Neglectful narcissists view people.
So which film takes Best Picture?
This year's Oscar contender?
Easy. No way, my pick's winning.
We'll see. Only one film takes it. Oscar
So
decides.
cute.
I trade my pick. That's the winner. Trust me.
As conveniences, as a bridge to get something done, and a neglectful narcissist will sort of access other people when it works for them. A person who's a neglectful narcissist will often view children as a major inconvenience, and as such, the neglectful narcissistic parent may be very disengaged, very disinterested, and very remote. This can be very challenging for a child who is often trying to garner the parent's attention. And this can, over time, impact the child's sense of worth, as the child may feel as though they are not worthy of their parent's attention because the parent is so inattentive. If you were raised by a neglectful, narcissistic parent, it was, honestly, probably destabilizing, because these are often very cold, distant, detached, remote parents with little interested in parenting or in other people, unless those other people are completely aligned with what they need and want. If your interests, for some reason, might have coincided with your neglectful narcissistic parents' interests, then they might actually have been interested in you for a minute. But then we'll go ahead and start doing them on their own. So the best way I could portray it is that you were the child with the baseball glove, waiting forever for the parent to show up and throw the ball, just like you thought parents were supposed to do, and they never did. This can be a difficult setup going into adulthood. A sense of not enoughness, of feeling that you have to jump through hoops to get the attention of other people, of having to win this kind of parent over. In fact, you might find that as a child, you actually took on hobbies or interests that the neglectful narcissistic parent had just to get them to spend a little time with you. If you are co-parenting with a neglectful narcissist, the harder work that you face as a co-parent may be in helping your children through the crisis of wondering why their parent has relatively limited interest in them. In fact, a neglectful narcissistic parent may just cut bait and leave you with the kids full time. And you have to carefully help your child not to internalize the sense that they're not enough. Not to mention your healing, your own healing from a marriage spent with someone with someone who barely knew that you existed. It's as though you were just like an unwatered plant in that marriage. The self-righteous narcissists are the ones who derive their narcissistic validation and supply by sort of holding themselves up as a morally superior person, and will be more focused on doing things just so rather than from. If you are co-parenting with a self-righteous narcissist, be prepared for financial debates about the smallest things for the entire period of having minor children. They're often quite ritualized and obsessive around all kinds of details. And even if they don't really enjoy the kids, they will fight over the extra 3 hours of custody they are entitled to because one time traffic meant you got home a few hours late from a 3-day vacation, despite you not holding them to the same standard. So it can be maddening. Or self-righteous narcissists, you have to do this with self-righteous narcissists, they will often be quite openly judgmental about some of the rhythms of your household. Your children may have to adjust to going back and forth between one home that's rather rigidly regimented to a fault, and then perhaps if your home is healthier, to the more responsive rhythms of a healthier home. We also know that narcissism often also develops out of a cultural or generational dynamic. Perhaps parents who, for whatever, where they came from or what was happening when they were children, endured trauma, or were from cultures characterized by authoritarianism, very, very sharply demarcated economic stratification from cultures that are very patriarchal and top-down and familial structures. These patterns may also sometimes be observed in members of a family who they themselves had parents who had also endured the tremendous stress of a difficult migration experience or a difficult refugee status or war or other unrest where they were living. These are sometimes families, from a cultural perspective, we can also see that families in which loyalty is everything, it's almost a blind loyalty. Difficult family members can often get enabled because of these cultural and family historical issues. She's been through so much, that's why she's difficult, don't say anything. That sort of kind of a sequence. If you were raised by a parent with these kinds of histories behind them, these really difficult histories, you may have felt very hopeless and caught between two worlds, the culture in which you live and the culture of your family. You may have felt stifled or silenced by these patterns, but you may have also, and may still also, feel very guilty at pushing back, knowing your family or your parents' history, leaving you in a permanent sense of dissonance, knowing that they had gone through so much, you might have had an easier path, that explains some of their patterns, but you're still struggling, and even as an adult, struggling on how to fit your family into your life. If you are co-parenting with someone who has had this sort of generational or cultural issues contributing to their narcissistic style, you may have tried throughout the relationship, throughout the marriage, to attempt to understand their culture and the origins, and may have even justified your partner's behavior to yourself and your children because of knowing what the family, their family, your in-laws' family has been through, and that your former partner's family may have had very different conceptions of child rearing than you do, and you may also have different conceptions of child rearing than your in-laws. Your children may be actually quite confused by all of this, and also feel guilty if they know about their family and their cultural history of that other parent. So it can also cause a tension in there. As you listen to this, you may think, my parent was actually more than one of these types. Or I had a parent with one type, and now I'm in a relationship or co-parenting with somebody who's narcissistic, and it's a different type. And that just means more challenges. And you may be facing the very challenges of the very types, which is actually quite taxing. Knowing these issues, as I laid them out in this video, actually doesn't change anything in your circumstances per se. My hope is that understanding some of this can help you be better prepared for co-parenting challenges, not wasting time on communication strategies that won't and don't work, to maintain realistic expectations, and to recognize the psychological hurdles that you may continue to face as an adult as a result of being raised within these patterns. I hope this gives some clarity on how these subtypes work and how they may be differentially impacting you as a co-parent.